do the do what we do.
Hello and welcome to the Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour. I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ed Carbajal. Ed, Ted took a week off, got some fresh air up in the mountains, but I'm back. You held down the fort. How's everything going, brother?
Cool. You forgot to mention this is brought to you by All Access MMA. Please check out allaccessmma.com. Even when Matthew's on vacation, All Access MMA is still giving us some fight news.
And I was checking it out the whole time I was gone. So, but anyway, yeah, nice to be back. Glad you were able to hold down the fort last week.
Yeah, it was fun. Mike gave me a lot of updates on boxing, and then talked about I think the last time we talked boxing on this podcast was like at the beginning of the pandemic, right?
Yeah, we had Daniel on.
Yeah.
I think it was right before Khabib and Gagey. So yeah, pretty early on, at least in the return of the fight stuff. We didn't have it on our list of stuff we were going to talk about, but you bring up boxing. Obviously, we saw that there was the delay in the Roy Jones Jr. Mike Tyson scheduled bout. I think it went from like November 14th or something like that. Now it's what are we looking at? The end of, or no, it went from September to the end of November now. Does that sound right?
That's the last I saw. I think Mike Coppinger, I forgot. I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name. The dude from The Athletic was the one that broke that news. Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that. Mike Shepard and I talked about that last week too. I mean, I'm wondering if it has something to do with, because didn't one of the undercard guys is one of those YouTube dudes, and didn't the FBI raid his house? So maybe.
So I don't know. There was some. I don't know. I saw some mixed news. I don't know what the deal was with him. I do see that he was challenging somebody. Did you see on Twitter where he was it Jake Paul or Paul Jake or
one of those guys? Yeah,
whatever the hell his name is, or Logan Paul or whatever the hell his name is. He said something about $10,000 to anybody that can out wrestle him, and Ben Askren told him he'd pin him in less than a minute.
Yeah, with his bad hip and everything. I like that. I mean, and I'm pretty sure that's probably true, which is probably why Ben Askren never heard anything back.
Yeah, of course it's true. You're not gonna, it's wild, but yeah. So the fight did get postponed. I see that they came up with some preliminary bouts for the event. Like you said, that YouTube dude against a former NBA player, which is bizarre as all hell. And then two other what seemed like pretty standard regular bouts. So it looks like they are putting something together. I've been getting asked about this fight more than I expected to, honestly.
Which one? That one?
Well, there's the Tyson fight.
Oh, okay.
As if it's like, I mean, we got to wait and see what happens. But my stance right now is it's an exhibition, so don't plan on being over, thinking it's going to be the greatest show.
Yeah, I mean, exhibitions are supposed to be fun anyway, and I think the last time we talked about it, Mayweather had the exhibition with tension, and that turned into a highlight that made the internet pretty when it happened. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Mike Tyson's going around saying, I mean, which is probably true. When you think about the way dudes that have careers, he said it. I mean, it's called an exhibition, but he only knows one way to box, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does go for swing for the fences, because if that's all he knows is to swing for the fences early, in the first couple rounds, then I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we see. But Roy Jones Jr. is not somebody that ever got put away easily in that fashion. So yeah, sadly it got postponed, but maybe it'll be good for you. Like if things miraculously get better after November, and there's like maybe you can get some tickets out there because it's happening out in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I mean, you might be right about it miraculously ending after early November, which would be amazing.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. I mean, the postponement doesn't mean anything. 30 years past their prime anyway. So
Yeah,
what's another 2 months? But I mean, I get it. I'm excited to see the
yeah.
guys walk down there and do it. But
I still want to see it.
yeah, no, exactly. So hopefully it holds up. I got to see. Uh, you'd think those guys would be making good purse money, right? I mean, if anything with that, the BKFC
Well,
was rumored.
Tyson's talking about yeah. No,
You
well,
know,
Tyson's talking about giving his money to charity or a large portion of it. That's what Shepard said last week when he subbed for you on the podcast that he's trying to give a lot of his whatever he makes off of it. He's trying to give a lot of it to charity. So in that sense, I'm kind of like good. Then maybe we should be a little more excited about it than
oh,
than
maybe I'll pay for it. If I find out that the charity's going to end up getting money, then maybe that. I mean, that could all change stuff. That becomes a
yeah.
different scenario. But that's the that'll obviously be a few months off. But anything with Mike Tyson and Roy Jones is obviously going to make some news. The big, over the weekend, we had Bellator and UFC. Um, Bellator, was Friday night. Bellator 243, Chandler versus Henderson 2.
Yeah,
Um,
pretty
we
interesting. Pretty interesting card. If you
Yeah,
watched,
it was fun. I
yeah,
enjoyed it. I saw the majority of the fights. I think there was one or two prelims that I may have missed out on, but
you saw the ones that counted. I hope.
I definitely saw the ones that counted. And Valerie Lareda, your girl, picked up a huge knockout win. Showed a little bit of spice by getting in her opponent's face and yelling at her after the bout, and
Yeah,
doing a salsa dance
she
around the
went full
cage.
Betch Correa and Bellator. So yeah,
So, but she picks up a win. She moves to 3-0. Be interesting to see what happens when she faces some higher level competition. Um, but for now, she's young. Was she like 20, 21, something like that? So
yeah,
she's
she's
still
young. Yeah,
very young. So just getting experience right now is obviously the main key. Another bout that I saw early on. One of somebody you've interviewed on multiple occasions, Chris Lencioni.
still
Uh,
waiting for an interview from that.
uh, yeah, no doubt. Now all of a sudden he's getting big time, huh?
I know. I'm like,
When
yo,
you were the only one waiting for him, it was no problem. Now it's big time. But he picked up kind of a grudge match win over AJ Argazam in a bout that ended kind of weird. I'm assuming that you saw that bout start to finish.
yeah, I watch it straight through, and I watched both their post fight interviews. Um, because the PR had the video up on the internet because of all the COVID stuff. And yeah, it was interesting to hear both sides of that. Obviously, Lencioni won the fight, but Agazarm, and I don't know if that's even his real Twitter account, but I think he apologized today and said he looked back at the video and was just kind of like, um, that wasn't really the way to act afterwards, and he apologized to Chris and said and for his actions. I know Mike Mazzulli, our boy Nolan King, was there on site, and he wrote the article over at MMA Junkie where he talks about Mike Mazzulli kind of snatched Agazarm up right away and was like, "Yo, you can't be doing that." So I know you and I are fans of old school pride rules and old MMA, lawless MMA, but I think that headbutt was deliberate. It looked
Yeah, I
pretty
mean
deliberate.
there was some foul play definitely in that fight. Um, and I kind of got to eat my words, I guess, from a couple weeks back, because a couple weeks ago I was praising Mike Beltran as one of my favorite refs, and man, he had a bad night. So he missed that headbutt, and then I believe he missed an up kick in that fight as well. And then I don't know what your opinion of the whole after situation was, where he grabbed, Lencioni came over to try to shake hands, and AJ basically gave him the finger and tried to walk out of the cage, and then
Mhm.
Beltran grabbed him and kind of drug him back into the cage and tried to tell him that's not how we do it, and yada yada. Um, not really my thing. I got to be honest with you. I don't need a referee to be a peacekeeper and a referee to try to drag a fighter into the cage. I mean, I understand where he was coming from,
Yeah,
but I I don't think he does that, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does that with a Conor McGregor. But I just, I just felt like it was kind of a little bit too much of a dad thing, and it's like,
Yeah, no,
bro, these guys don't like, there's no rule that says you got to like each other. Luckily for the sportsmanship of the sport, the majority of these guys are good dudes that seem to get along, especially after they've had a nice little battle. And there's no mistake about it. It was a good fight. Lencioni definitely won on the cards, and I think he even won a 10-8 round. But it was still a competitive bout.
except for Doug Crosby's card.
Yeah,
Fucking crazy judge.
but yeah, so I wasn't big though on Beltran trying to insert himself and become like I just think that's just let it go. Guys don't like each other. They'll I mean hell, we had Joe Riggs and Nick Diaz get in a hospital brawl. After UFC like 50,
Yeah.
I think it's 52 or
Th-
57,
there's a
57.
I think there's a fight lore about it for anyone that has Fight Pass
Yeah,
and
no, I
haven't
think it was
seen it.
57. It was
It's
the
pretty good. I watched it.
Couture Liddell 3 event. But yeah, I
So
mean, I don't
so
know.
yeah. Well, my take is, I mean, the thing is, you had three, including Beltran. Lencioni's a brown belt, has his own academy, Sunshine Athletics out in Portland, and Agazarm. So you had three people from the jiu-jitsu community, which that's where I kind of like saw Beltran doing that. I'm like, you got this guy trying to shake your hand, like, there is a humbling aspect of the art that everyone, whether they acknowledge it or not, knows it. And but on the so that's where I understand where Beltran was coming from. But the thing with I mean, Agazarm, I've seen him do that before. You know, the
No,
last
he has a history of it.
yeah, I know homegirl, what's her name from your neck of the woods? Naila, whatever her name is, that tweet back and forth about jiu-jitsu stuff on Twitter. Because I mentioned the last time I saw him do that in jiu-jitsu competition was against Jake Shields and Polaris, and then she brought up all his other post you know sore loser antics, I guess we can
Yeah,
call
I
it.
think he had something with Wagner Rocha
Wagner Hosha and
and
uh
yeah, it's a couple of guys.
yeah.
He has a history of it. Even his Bellator fights haven't been like the most. He's kind of he comes off real bad. So I think I think he's kind of one of those love to
Yeah,
hate kind of
and I,
guys.
I would imagine if because everybody kind of has to listen to regulators and regulation, especially with that's home base. Mohegan Sun Arena's home base for them until September, or maybe even December. From if you read my latest article over at mymmanews.com, the if the commission for that region says something, then that's probably something that even Scott Coker was probably like, "Yo, you can't, you gotta cut that. Whatever you're trying to do, don't do that. Like, do your trash talking, make it fun at weigh-ins or whatever, but don't do stuff like that." So yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, I don't. He didn't. I guess I just don't see what he necessarily. The headbutt, obviously. I'm talking about post-fight stuff.
yeah,
It seemed to me like, unless I'm misremembering, that it was simply the bout was announced, the winner, Lencioni was announced the winner, and kind of AJ kind of was walking out of the cage. Lencioni went over to shake his hand, and he basically told him to go F himself. Um, again, I mean, again, I don't know. Maybe it's a little old school, thing in me, but a little bit. But I just don't. That it was like, okay, well, if that's the case, that's the case. We don't. These guys don't have to like each other.
yeah,
It's great when they do, but so what? They don't like each other. Maybe they fight again in 5 years from now or something. I mean, I don't know. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, that was a small tidbit after a great performance by Lencioni, who moved to 7-2, and between his submission grappling and some big MMA fights, he's working his way up
oh
towards
yeah,
a nice little fight. I mean, this fight wasn't the biggest opponent he's ever had, skill wise, but it was a name, so he's starting to fight people that people might recognize, and that's obviously good for his career.
yeah.
Um, that was the there was one more prelim. Adam Boric, coming off of his loss to Caldwell, first loss of his career, picks up a split decision win over Mike Hamill, a late replacement um, for Corrales, Henry Corrales, which would have been an awesome fight. Boric picked up the split decision win. Looks good. I don't think it was. I think it was it might have been another Doug Crosby card for there to be a split decision because I believe Borix dominated essentially from start to finish. Then the main card start, and I'm looking at it right now, just refreshing my mind. I did miss a lot of the Homasi Millender fight, um, so I can't really comment too much on that. Was there anything in that fight? Obviously, Millender came in the favorite, and he took the loss, unanimous decision. Anything you remember standing out in that fight?
Uh, I mean, you know what? I mean, not I mean, it was not really. Just because the other, I mean, I know we're gonna get to that part of the card. I didn't think we were gonna go over the whole card, but the other significant losses on the card kind of overshadowed stuff for me. So I'm kind of drawing a blank right now.
Yeah, no, I think I saw some of it, but nothing stands out. So yeah, without we're Miles Jury picked up a win over Georgia Kanahari in split decision. Co-main event was another Beltron blunder for refereeing. Timothy Johnson picks up the ground and pound TKO win over Matt Mitrione after dropping him with a headbutt. Um, probably should just do an instant rematch almost on that if Mitrione wants it.
Yeah, that's one of the significant losses that I was like, eesh, you know.
Well, I mean, I think it's an automatic no contest if he appeals it. I mean, how can it not be? That's why. I mean, in fact I thought we had instant replay for maybe that's not considered a fight ending sequence,
Yeah.
but I think I think that could easily be one of these.
You know, I honestly didn't think those were like screw ups on Beltran's part until you're mentioning it now. I'm like, it didn't stick out to me like that. But yeah, I mean,
It wasn't blatant as if he made a call that was bad. He just missed it. I
yeah,
mean, he
yeah.
missed two headbutts, and you're not going to catch everything. I'm just saying it wasn't the best night, and I still think Beltran's a great ref until he pulls
Cuts
certain
his
themes.
mustache.
Yeah, you
That
know, uh,
bothers me. I know he trains and everything. I wouldn't be able to roll with somebody with a long ass mustache like that. I'd be like, yo, you got to wash that or do something with it. I think he
he
does. I think he does tape it like to himself or something, but still, it's nasty.
seems like you could use it like a gi or something and do like a collar choke or something with it.
I mean, I'm sure you can. It's that long. I'm sure you can, but
I guess that might be a noose, though, huh? That really wouldn't be much of a.
a nasty noose.
Yeah, so Timothy Johnson, though, regardless, picks up a big win at heavyweight, and then the main event, the fight that Bellator fans and MMA fans in general were looking forward to and talking about. Michael Chandler
Yeah.
picks up a knockout win over Benson Henderson. Just crushed him with a straight right, and then finished it up with a follow up shot to the top of the head that put Henderson face down in the cage, out cold. Brutal. We've talked about Chandler in the past. He's one of my favorite fighters.
Hey, I like them both. I'm a big
Yeah,
fan of both of them. So
yeah,
that was a tough one to watch for me. But I mean, obviously, the thing that stands out, obviously that's a way to put a stamp. You finish a guy that hasn't been finished in, what, 2006 or whatever it is, and then he's free agent walking out on a win. You would imagine. I don't know, where do you want to see him? I obviously UFC is the first thing that comes up, but I wouldn't mind him and Eddie Alvarez again at one.
Oh, I don't want him to go to one. One's too hard to watch, or it's just too hard to see.
Yeah,
It frustrates me already that I can't watch, Eddie Alvarez. I can
it's
watch him, but it's not. I mean, I
the
can't watch him.
timing. You mean?
Yeah, well, it's Friday morning at 4 a.m. I got to work. The majority of Americans have to
Yeah,
work.
I mean, I used to run them on. When I do go to my physical job location, I do have two monitors, and I would leave it on the bottom part of the monitor. But
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah, no, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do that here as long as we're working like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not. It's not. That's not my first choice. And other than the Eddie Alvarez fight, I don't. Um, I just don't have the. I just don't have the draw to one anymore that I used to have. Um, so with that said, I mean, I love him being the face of Bellator. I love the story of a guy coming
Yeah,
up, making a name for himself, becoming rich, fighting for a company, and them treating him well, and him treating them well, and everything kind of working. A rematch with Patricio Pitbull is a fight that obviously I'd want to see. Um,
yeah.
I
He
mean,
actually mentioned that in the post-fight presser. that
I mean,
he wouldn't mind running it back with either of those good dudes, Pitbull brothers.
there's a bunch, the Pitbull brothers. You got some other featherweights that could, like an AJ McKee or something, could potentially be a fun fight at lightweight. But with that said, I mean, it's hard not to want to see him at least try to go to the UFC and see how it
Yeah,
unfolds. He's
I
a little
say,
older,
yeah.
so
Well, was he? I think he's 34, which is kind of like right there, right?
he's at the brink. He either goes to
Yeah.
the UFC and he kills it for a couple years, or he just kind of gets exposed as being a little bit too old and maybe a little outclassed.
So
I don't know. In the UFC though, there's a ton of matchups. I mean,
yeah,
obviously.
especially in
Uh,
that weight class, it's like murderer's row, and he said he'd like to jump in like the top 5 or at least within the top 10 or something like that. I think that's what he told Luke Thomas yesterday or today on Luke Thomas's Sirius XM show. But real quick, I spoke at length about this on the Sunday submission thing I do over at MMAnews.com YouTube channel. I'll drop a link or something on this after this is done processing. But so I won't talk too much about it. But the only thing that jumps in my head now as we're talking about it is that I wouldn't mind if I think if the UFC has the money to do it, give him a contract that obviously that Bellator couldn't match, or that seems better. 3-fight contract, see how he does, and then they can go from there if they want to, if he makes a title run at the UFC or not. But I mean, that seems standard / fair. Don't they usually sign top name guys for 3 fights or so, right? They usually fight 3 fights for a year.
Yeah, I would say if they sign Chandler, it'll be a more of a 5 or like 7 fight contract. I think that they would try to lock him up so that he wouldn't have any kind of negotiating power if he does start winning fights,
Mhm.
and then threaten to go back to Bellator. Kind of like, I don't know what Eddie Alvarez. I would assume it would be similar to like the Eddie Alvarez situation.
Yeah,
Which, if that's the case for Chandler, then he's going to make a lot of money. Because Chandler kind of did it the way that, now he stayed longer than I maybe would have even
yeah,
recommended if I was his agent. Um, but he made his name in another organization. Now he's going to get paid. He's not going to see none of this 20,000 crap. He's
yeah,
going to be, I imagine he won't get less than, I would assume you're looking at $200,000 to $250,000 in show money at minimum. If I'm
yeah,
Michael Chandler, if it's anything less than that, I'm staying in Bellator, and I'm just going to keep racking up wins, try to get my 4th title belt, and just keep going at it. I'm not going to go to the UFC and give away all my rights and everything I've got for anything less than $250,000. And that's what I would think. And maybe I'm wrong on the numbers, but that's got to be somewhere in the neighborhood, um, if not more.
If they
Uh,
don't sign him, I'll make him in the PS4 video game that I ordered today, and in career mode, and then I'll stream how
just
he
see
does.
how he goes.
There you go.
Is there anybody? I don't know if you talked about it, but is there anybody that if he does go to the UFC, do you have a dream matchup or a fight that you just love to see go down quick?
Well, he mentioned. Well, he didn't mention it. He didn't mention it out of someone asked him, because you can't talk about the featherweight or welterweight class without somebody bringing up Conor McGregor. So someone that was on site there at the post-fight presser asked him how he matched up against Conor McGregor, and he seemed to have a really detailed assessment of how that would go. And since him and Eddie Alvarez kind of have, I actually tweeted something today how somebody asked like what was the most painful MMA loss you ever saw, and for me it was when Alvarez lost to McGregor over here in New York at UFC 205. So since Alvarez and Chandler have that connection, they have that, they're like in MMA history, destiny together, whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't mind if Chandler and McGregor ran at it, and Chandler sort of got revenge for Alvarez and put it on him. So that's, and it'd be a money fight for him. So he deserves a money fight.
Yeah, I mean that's I don't think McGregor would take that fight personally.
No, McGregor's retired.
Yeah, and it's not
You haven't heard.
it's not a win-win for him necessarily, because sadly as it is, a lot of the UFC fans are not gonna even know who Michael Chandler is. Um, which is just how it is. I mean, I when I look at the rankings, obviously to me, like stylistically, a matchup that wouldn't happen immediately, but something down the line, Justin Gaethje is an awesome stylistic matchup for me. And
Yeah, but Justin's got tunnel vision. He's only looking at.
oh,
Khabib.
he's got the title fight. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So this would be years off. An immediate. He shows up tomorrow. I look at the list and I see three names that look interesting to me. Raging Al seems like it would be an interesting fight.
Yeah.
Paul Felder and Charles Oliveira. Those three guys, all top, top nine.
Yeah.
Even Dan Hooker at 5. But I think Oliveira is an interesting matchup because you kind of get that grappling aspect,
Yeah.
and then Felder would just be Felder like Gagey would be a kind of a it'd be a thrilling. There somebody's going down, someone's
Yeah.
bleeding, and then Raging Al, same kind of thing. Kind of the same kind of cut out. You talk about video games, like him and Chandler kind of would have the same kind of attributes in a
Yeah.
sense.
The wrestling and the boxing. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah, I
agree.
mean, I do think Chandler's better. I think he would be like a 5, where Kenta would be like a 4. But I do think that
Chandler's just a machine when it comes to training. I mean, it's because of him. I take what is he puts out a tweet once about one of his sponsors, Dymatize, that he takes those shit. I got them back here. Amino acids for sore muscles. He takes them, and I was like, yeah. They helped me get through training, and he was like, I would have to retire if I didn't take that supplement. And I'm like, if you look at his training footage, I mean, you get sore watching him train. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, I hope all that stuff is good and clear under USADA.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure it is. I mean, guy like him, I don't see him. I don't see someone like him. Those dudes that come from wrestling popping hot for anything.
no, but you know,
Yeah, tainted and
yeah. I'm
tainted
just
supplements
you
and
don't know,
weed and all that. Yeah,
and I don't trust USADA at all either. I think that they're just as corrupt and incapable of actually doing their job as any organization there is. So, but that's it. So Chandler's got to make up his mind. He called out the fighters. Excuse me. He called out the fighters in the lightweight division around the world. Told Scott Coker he's on the clock. It's time to make a deal. If I'm Bellator, I'm contemplating breaking the bank to keep him around. I really am. I think that he's still a face. I
the
think
bank
that
is. I feel like when it comes to negotiations and money, though, because of everything that's happening, I mean, no one's really given a number of how all these promotions, boxing, MMA, they're losing the gate revenue because of no fans. I mean, Dana White, oddly enough, was the only one that gave the number of 110 million average per event. So, you know what I mean? Like they don't even pay anybody that much. So
no, I mean,
yeah,
I understand, but you have Bellator just signed Corey Anderson, so they just signed another free agent.
yeah,
I
which
just
means where are they going to get money to keep for Chandler?
perhaps I just think that if I was going to try to find money to keep anybody on their roster, the three guys I would make sure I kept would be AJ McKee, Patricio Pitbull, and Michael Chandler. Those would be three guys that I wouldn't let leave at if it's humanly possible. And if it's not, that means that Chandler's making a ton of money and good for him. So that was that would it's going to be exciting no matter what happens. He either, like
Yeah,
we said, he either
and
just
he also said at the post fight press event that he wants to fight one more time before the end of the year. So maybe that'll be a nice way to close out crazy ass 2020. Michael Chandler in UFC in an event that Matt can get tickets to.
God, I can't wait. I can't wait till when we can get back to somewhat of a normal life.
Yeah,
But
you and
we'll
me
see what
both,
happens.
man.
Yeah. So then over the weekend, Saturday, we also had a UFC card. Not going to break the whole thing down, but
Yeah, because that was on ESPN Plus, and I'll be watching ESPN Plus. I watched it the day after. For folks that don't know, it seems to be if there's a Saturday ESPN Plus card, the very next they showed it Sunday at 11:30 p.m. on ESPN2. So that's how I've been watching them during the coronavirus pandemic MMA scheduling. But
yeah,
Derek Lewis got his win, lost some weight. Obviously Chris Weidman got out of the L column.
Big win for Weidman.
Yeah,
Needed.
Beneil Dariush had that spinning back fist knockout that echoed around the apex.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
what stands out to me.
yeah, I was going to say those three fights pretty much do it. I thought Oleanek was going to win that fight, to be honest, but he gets hit, and Lewis doesn't let you off the hook once he hits you, and if you don't submit him when you get him down on the ground, then
He also burned out his muscles a lot when he did that Kesagatami on didn't he do it like for round one and part of round two? It
the
was a long
scarf
time in that.
choke.
Yeah.
So he did that for like 3 minutes in round one, and then I think he had tried it in round
And
two.
that's a move that requires a lot of patience for it to work. So the fact that it lasted that long and Lewis survived, I mean, that's a strong man.
Yeah, and I mean, you're the grappling expert, but he just never seemed like he really had it. It always seemed like there was a little gap along Lewis's neck that was the head and arm wasn't
Well,
really. It was just it seemed like it was never in a situation where it was never really that locked in. I mean, he was
yeah,
trying
well,
to work it, and it was uncomfortable as hell. But
that's the thing about it. Like you need the time to make that thing be as painful as it is. Not only do you need the time, but you need some friction so that people can't pop out. And with them, they're half naked and sweat being a factor. I mean, Lewis, he admitted afterward that he thought about tapping because it's super uncomfortable, especially with a big man like that on top of you. But I mean, patience, like I said, just a lot of patience is required to get that submission, especially when you're not wearing a gi, because the friction of the gi will make that harder to get out of. So I think Lewis knew that and was just kind of like, if I keep moving, I'll sweat enough and I can pop out of this thing, and it worked for him.
yeah, like you said, it burns the hell out of your arms,
Yeah,
um, especially trying to squeeze on such a strong opponent too. I mean, trying to do it to Lewis is like you got a giant muscle that you're
yeah.
trying to squeeze up on. So big win for Derek Lewis. I see the rumored or I see who's called him
Curtis
Blades,
Blades.
Chris
Yeah,
Blades. I that's not a fight that I think Blades kills Lewis personally, but um,
I don't know. He looked good, man. I mean, like I
I
said,
just
I
don't
was.
think he can wrestle. I think Blades takes him down, and I don't think Lewis. I mean, I think he 50-45s him in his sleep.
Yeah,
Honestly, if Blades plays it smart, doesn't get caught with something in the first 25-30 seconds. But
yeah. I mean, I do think the fact that he's committed to dropping another 15-20 pounds just right to be walk around weight is a testament, because I mean, as someone that's been down as I mean, I'm 200 pounds now, but I've been as light as 176 in my adult life, and I know you definitely do move and feel better when you're lighter. That ain't happening with this coronavirus, though. I'm drinking beer and getting fat at home and barely training as it is. So
yeah, like you said, it's testament to Lewis, and when Lewis came to the UFC, I thought he was going to be like a mid-tier heavyweight, and all props to him, man. He's made a hell of a career for himself, headlining events, picking up headline wins, and
taking
being
shits after fights, all
you
about
know.
it.
But yeah, so big win there, decent card. Like you said, it was all ESPN Plus on Saturday, which to this day I still will not understand why that's the case.
Yeah.
When there's not enough to even keep on regular
Well,
ESPN.
sports are back. You haven't heard?
Oh, I get it,
Yeah,
but
I
I
think that's
also,
why though.
I don't know. Well, it's
even,
obvious
even,
they just want
even
viewers for ESPN Plus.
yeah. But even with the replay, like I mentioned, freaking women's basketball, I still had to wait for women's basketball to finish to watch the replay of an event that already aired. So
There you go. There you
yeah.
go. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it'd be like Masvidal and start taking up cornhole, and that's what it takes to get on regular ESPN, apparently. But speaking of big time shows and big time event this Saturday,
Yeah.
um, the fight I didn't expect to see uh, in the bubble, Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier trilogy bout. The champ Miocic coming off a knockout win over Cormier,
I'm looking.
following a bout where Cormier knocked out Miocic to become a two-division champion. Um, Hell of a fight. I
Yeah.
mean, this is as good as it gets in heavyweight combat. Uh, this trilogy is probably the best, at least so far through the first two fights, is the best heavyweight trilogy that I can think of. Nogueira Fedor obviously is another big one, but one of their three fights was a no contest from a cut. Um, but yeah, so you start at the bottom of the card as you're scrolling down.
Oh, did they add this? Oh no, that's the first fight. Yeah.
So just not a lot of information on some of these guys. Obviously, we know Herbert
Oh
Burns.
no, I haven't clicked.
Oh, you got to click on it to bring up their
Yeah,
stuff. So,
which one do you
oh,
want to look
nothing,
at
nothing
first?
specifically. So work your way up the card. But like I said, Herbert Burns is fighting Daniel Pineda. That's one of the early prelims.
Yeah.
Um, Gilbert Burns' brother is Herbert. So
Yeah, I'm actually working on my 5 fights to watch, and this is one of them for
yeah, it should be interesting. I
MMAnews.com.
mean, Herbert Burns is 11-2. Pineda's kind of an old school LFA dude who hasn't had great success in the UFC, but
Oh, look at
is
this.
in
That's some breaking news from Jake Sage. Kutalaba fight canceled. He tested positive. Oh,
for steroids or for COVID.
I would imagine it's COVID.
Really? Because I initially thought, of course, it's steroids.
Is it still on here? No, it's all. Is it pulled off? Oh no, this is the fight that he's referencing. Oh, so I wonder if they're going to get anyone for Magomed Ankaliev. This is the gentleman here, Ion, tested positive for Ion. Yeah, yeah, no, COVID-19 looks like.
Okay.
So.
All right. So Jake Sage, breaking news.
Yeah.
Live on the
Shout out
podcast.
to Jake Sage. Follow Jake Sage, the new Ariel Helwani.
So that sucks because that was one of the fights. That was a main card fight, a fight that was a controversial finish. Let's say as Cantalaba the fight was stopped while he was still standing. Whether he was playing punch drunk or he was just kind of stumbling around the ring will be left to be seen. But it was a rematch, kind of some bad blood that definitely had violence written all over it. So that is disappointing to see. But other main card fights, John Dotson versus Merab Dashvili.
Dashvili, New York City's finest Georgian. Yeah. Serra-Longo Team Serra-Longo.
I mean, obviously, this to me, like just by looking at it, seems like it should be kind of like a new guy in town fight.
They're using John Dodson's coronavirus haircut on that picture.
But yeah, so I mean, it's kind of a toss-up fight, but it's a fight that Dashvili needs to win if he wants to keep a name for himself. I feel like Dodson's kind of the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
In the lighter divisions, so it's not going to be an easy fight, but I'll take Dashvili to win. Like I said, the newer, fresher blood, and that he'll figure out some way to make it happen.
Yeah, I gave my pick away once we started talking about it. I'm obviously picking Dashvili too, because I feel like even his losses, like kind of could have been wins when he lost by decision. So he's definitely a go-getter. I see him outworking John Dodson with his Soul Glow hairdo over there. So
was Jim Miller always on the card?
Jim Miller, yeah, but he's on the
prelims.
Yeah.
It says
we might as well look at that because
I think that according to Tapology's moved that into the main card slot now.
Oh, good. Good for Jim Miller.
But that might be wait and see. I mean, there's nothing official about that, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, he fights Vince Pinchal. Miller it's amazing how long that guy's been around and how many fights he's had in the UFC. In fact, nobody's had more. So it's really incredible. I'm going to pick Jim Miller to win. I'm done picking against him. Not that I made a career out of doing that, but he's earned. He should have earned everybody's respect at this point. And
yeah,
I wasn't always, he's your East Coast guy, so I get it. He wasn't always
Jersey too.
He wasn't always my cup of tea, but he's earned my respect over the last decade and a half, and I'll be happy to watch him fight and looking forward to seeing it. Hopefully, he does make the main card fight. He does deserve to.
Oh yeah, ESPN put up the Kutalaba news an hour ago. So it's probably just around the time we started. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I've always picked Jim Miller for just out of habit by this point. So I'm not gonna go away from that. I mean, the last time I saw him fight in Jersey was in Atlantic City. It was when he fought Cowboy here in Atlantic City. I forget what event that was. It was one of the fight nights though at the defunct Revel Casino, and it was hard to watch. But I'm glad that he's still around and still able to pick up some W's. So hopefully he gets one this Saturday.
Big heavyweight bout on the main card. JDS Junior Dos Santos faces off against Jazino Rosenstruck. I don't even know why I try to say his first name. Jaranzino Rosenstruck. Um,
Rosenstruik?
There you go.
I think that's how you say it, but
like your gold member or something.
yeah.
I'm going with JDS. I don't think Rosenstruck is as I don't think he's as good. I'm just saying as the hype kind of got built up. I know he was undefeated. I know he knocked out Overeem with milliseconds left in their fight. He was getting beat pretty bad, and then he got taken down hard by Ngannou. I think Dos Santos. Let's put it this way: this is like if Dos Santos doesn't win this fight, it's time for him to basically start thinking heavy retirement, or let's move to Bellator or go to Ryzen or something. I think he wins though. I think he wins. I think he wins by TKO late in the third round. I think I think Rosenstruck gasses out a little bit, and Dos Santos is able to keep enough pressure on to put him down with something and then finish him off on the ground.
You know, interesting. I picked against him the last time, so that's the only reason I'm not picking against him this time, JDS. But it's hard to disagree with you. I'm just noticing. I think so far you and I have all the same picks as we go towards as we move towards the co-main event. But yeah, my only concern for JDS is obviously he's taken a lot of damage in his career. That stuff tends to sit with fighters for a while. So that's my only concern, but it's not obvious. I thought that last time, and he did well. So, yeah, I'm not gonna. I think you and I are gonna be on the same page for that one.
Yeah, I mean, and then again, as we've chatted about in the past, Rosenstruck coming off his first career loss, a devastating knockout to Ngannou. So we'll see how he rebounds from that as well.
It's Francis Ngannou, though.
I get it. Yeah. That makes it just that much as brutal.
Yeah.
He didn't get knocked out by a, some kind of, he didn't get knocked out by Michael Bisping. He got knocked out by Francis Ngannou. But yeah, so good heavyweight fight, co-main event.
Don't make Michael Bisping come after you because you know he will.
Hey, there's no disrespect to Michael Bisping, but nobody's comparing his punching power to Francis Ngannou.
No.
I don't think even he would deny that. So, co-main event though, Sugar Sean O'Malley faces Marlon Vera, a bout originally scheduled for UFC 235 fight week. God, last year when we had 2 Julys ago when we actually had fight week.
Yeah.
I believe that was it. That was the initial time this fight was scheduled. I'm not a fan of Sean O'Malley. I'm not going to
lie. What? Well, tell me why. I mean, I can see why, but I just want to.
I mean, I gotta be careful breaking this down. But no, he's just not my. It's just I don't. Maybe we're old. I'm old. I'm old. I'm old, and he's not my. It's just not my style, and not my. Just not my gig. I think he's fun to watch. He puts on a show in the cage, but
his
act, his look, it's just not my cup of tea. I hope he gets the hell beat out of it. And, I just do. I don't know, and that's good for him. I mean, you either want people to love you or hate you, and I don't hate the guy, but I don't love him. So I'm gonna go with Marlon Vera. Probably lose this fight brutally, but I'm gonna hope that he just. You know what it is about Sean O'Malley? It's that he won a fight.
No,
It's that he
tell
won
me.
it's that he won a fight against Saka Matauth or however you say his name, where he blew out his
Yeah.
knee, and that guy laid on top of a guy with a busted knee. All he had to do was stand up, and he would have picked up the win. And Sean O'Malley wouldn't be anywhere near where he is right now if Saka Matauth had just stood up in one of the worst fight IQ fights of all time. So maybe that's it. Maybe I just saw Sean. But his last two performances have been outstanding. I mean, he's put people on their ass, and it's just I feel like his early fights is overhype. I don't know. That's why. So I'm picking Marlon Vera. What do we got? We only got 3 rounds here. I'm going to go by decision. I don't know if he'll finish him, but I think he beats him and wins 30-27.
Well, I mean, I don't hold people's out of cage antics against them like you. So I actually, as a martial artist and his skill set, I like Sean O'Malley in that sense, but I hear you on the other stuff. So I am, because I am also an old man, but I mean, as a martial artist, I've seen him fight enough to know that he's definitely a force to be reckoned with in his division. He's also you always hear me talk about the ectomorphs in MMA. That is his frame, the type of frame that he fights with, which they seem to be notoriously difficult fighters. So it's hard for me to pick against Sean O'Malley, despite his hairdo or whatever you might think he smells like.
I mean, I don't know. And even all that doesn't necessarily lead me to not like the guy. I just don't. It's just his whole act. I mean, his whole I don't know. Maybe it's who he is. Maybe it's not an act. I don't know. He's just he wouldn't be my friend. He wouldn't be somebody I'd hang out with. So maybe I'm being shallow, but that's where we are.
I'm sure he's hurt by that.
I'm sure he's devastated by it. As he collects paychecks that I'm paid to go watch him fight. I mean, I know
Marlon Vera's no slouch either. Like I'm not counting him. I actually think this is probably a potential fight of the night, situation between them. But I mean, well, hopefully you have the right numbers up. But let's see if Sean O'Malley already has height on him. I feel like he's taller than 5'11".
That might be accurate though for a bantamweight. I mean, that's pretty tall. I mean, you're talking.
But he's, the reach. He's already got a 2-inch reach on him. So that's what I mean by the ectomorph, the frame, those long wiry types.
He's got all the skills. He showed grit. He showed tremendous grappling when he competed at Quintet.
Mm-hmm.
Surprised the hell out of people. If this fight would have taken place when it was initially scheduled a little over a year ago, I would have thought Vera would have steamrolled him. But after seeing after seeing Quintet and after seeing,
I wonder how they measure these the grappling percentages and stats. I mean, I know we always bust on the UFC for having inaccurate numbers anyway, but I would like to see a submission defense average, like how many submissions. Maybe they can count how many submissions fighters escape, so that you know where they lie. You know what I mean? Because this says submission average. I don't know if that means winning or I'm assuming that means submission.
I'm assuming that's attempts per 15 minutes. Yeah, no, escapes would be kind of cool because then you could see what the likelihood of somebody getting out of something is.
Yeah. Because they have it here for striking. See the defense.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I don't see a submission in this fight. I think O'Malley is kind of in the MMA world, wants to stand and bang, and he's been successful. He's 12-0. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to bash the guy because he very well could end up becoming a world champion. But like I said,
people change, Matt. He's a young guy. He could cut his hair and wash it, and you know what I mean, and to be the new Mike Perry.
Yeah, but hey, good fight, co-main event. I don't know. I don't like it as the co-main event. I feel like we're kind of being ripped off on this pay-per-view, but maybe
I do think maybe they kind of jumped the gun on making that the co-main event, but maybe they didn't want to have the two heavyweights. Who knows how? I mean, in the COVID time, who knows? How fights are being made these days. Obviously,
Yeah, I mean they gotta do with what they got. I just feel like I think the card's like a
They just
fight
lost the
short.
fight, so we'll see what happens. They might
Yeah.
change that.
That brings us then to the main event. As I
Oh my
stated
god,
earlier. Um,
can't wait
gosh.
for this one. I'm actually been excited since yesterday for this particular fight.
Yeah, it's been weird for me because these are two guys that I do like. Two
Yeah,
guys
me
that
too.
I and kind of like the Chandler Henderson fight. It's two professionals that are at the top of their game. And gosh, the weird thing for me is that I attended the first two fights, and I actually would have loved to attend the third because it was just
Oh yeah, that would have been pretty cool.
kind of a bookend of a trilogy to be a part of it all. Um, my heart wants to say Daniel Cormier, just because I'd love to see the guy go out on top, and I think he's just great for the sport. But my brain, after seeing the last fight, says I don't see how he wins. I think Miocic has found out um, what to do. Their first fight was a first round knockout, and Cormier caught him right on the button on the chin, kind of chin, side of the head, temple, you know, and put him down hard. The second fight stretched out among a few rounds, and it seemed like Miocic kind of figured it out with the body shots. If he's able to avoid Cormier's wrestling, I think Miocic picks up the win. I don't think we're going to get a finish in this fight. I think Miocic. I'm going to take Miocic in a very close decision. I'm
Hmm.
going to take him 3 rounds to 2, um, in a close decision. And I'm going to say that maybe Cormier doesn't retire because he's not happy with the way the judges see the fight.
I mean, that's a good call if he loses. But so you're going.
I'm going. My brain's telling me Miocic.
Okay.
I will be pulling for Cormier slightly though because, like I said, I'd like to see the dude if he's honestly going to retire,
Yeah.
go out on top.
So I'm going for Cormier, only because even though he lost the last one, he was winning right up until he lost. I don't know what happened or that he opened up. He left himself open for a body shot that hurt him that led to the end of that fight. But um, his I think there's something to be said for active fighters that call a lot of fights because they kind of get to analyze things and come up with things in fights that make them. It adds to their fight IQ and makes them very cerebral fighters. And for a heavyweight, I think Cormier has been the most cerebral. When you look at their first fight, how he did that thing where he put up he had his hands up, but he would lift his arms to bait Miocic for the underhooks so that he could get the shot that he wound up winning that fight. And I don't remember. I think he did try early to do that in the second fight, but I mean, Miocic got the win because, to his own admission, I think he said something kind of like, "Oh, look at his belly. Let me just try these body shots." And that's not something Cormier was expecting, especially when you get hit in the body and you're not tensed up for it. I mean, body shots, they hurt and they can mess you up. It's at least when you get knocked out, you just kind of just fall and you wake up and like what happened. But the body shot, it's distracting, and that's what led to his finish. But I just feel like Cormier might have he has a better plan, better mindset to win. I the way he's been training and talking, interviews I've seen him do. I don't watch the embeddeds, but I do watch other interviews. The TMZ, how he said that this is he's never trained the way he's trained before. And but the thing that makes this fight a coin toss for me is the fact that both men are making adjustments for this whole COVID-19 situation. I mean, look at how long it was delayed because Miocic was being a first responder, couldn't get going with his own training because of the gyms and stuff that he didn't have access to. Meanwhile, because Cormier's a maniac, the TMZ interview I saw him do, I mean, he used him and his family got a new house, but he hadn't gotten rid of the old house yet, and that became his training facility with his so that's kind of like his own training bubble there that he's been using. So I think preparation might, whether it's been very stressful mentally, might weigh in and could change things. But I'm not picking against Cormier.
Well, their second fight, Cormier did look really good the first 2 rounds. Third round, the momentum did start to shift. I mean, I can remember specifically sitting there in my seat and telling the person I was sitting next that, momentum's moving, and then Miocic finished him in the fourth. One interesting side note for this fight is that it's taking place at the UFC Apex, so it's going to be the 25-foot cage, the smaller cage.
Oh yeah, that's
I
a good point.
wonder how that might play into Cormier's wrestling. Not having, Miocic is a good wrestler himself, but Cormier is Olympic level. I wonder if that's going to really favor Cormier in that he has so much less area that he's going to chase somebody down, or that when he shoots in, the cage is that much closer to it where he's not trying to force somebody up against the cage. He's kind of always there.
Yeah.
So I wonder if the smaller confines, what that's going to do. That also might not be great for Cormier because it might allow Miocic's boxing to keep him boxed in too. So it will be interesting. We haven't seen a world title fight anywhere near this level take place at the Apex. For especially, we've had a couple of title fights, but not heavyweight level with two big dudes in the smaller cage. So that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. But
Yeah.
I look forward to it. I just hope this is one of those fights again, two old legends. I hope neither of them get seriously injured after the fight, and I hope they put on a hell of a show. The first two fights were outstanding, and
I don't think. I mean, I feel like the thing about. I mean, I know there's arguments for and against it, but in all honesty, I mean, most of these guys, when they do their fight camps and training, I doubt they're training in the size cage that they compete in anyway. So I feel like that whole thing about the size of the cage is just something for some clicks and headlines and stuff. But I mean, I've never fought in a cage, so I really don't know. We'd have to ask the next time we get a fighter on here, their opinion on the size of the cage and stuff like that. But I feel like if given the situation with their preparation, if it's a small space, it probably doesn't matter to them,
It might not matter to them, but I think it matters. I really do. I think the amount of square footage you're talking when you're talking, it's 1/6 less the size.
Yeah.
From 25 to 30. I do think it matters. I think that's why they're trying to move Costa Adesanya to Fight Island, is because that would affect Adesanya a lot. His movements, his
yeah.
I mean, I do think it matters. Now, training wise, I agree. I don't think these dudes have 30-foot UFC style octagons in their gym. At least no gym I've ever been to has had a true full size octagon. So we'll see. I just think it's gonna be a great fight, and I look forward to talking about the results next week.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. That's for damn sure.
All right. Well, I think that wraps us up for this week. Fans can follow us at Combat Hour on Twitter, Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. Follow me, Matt Hawkins, on Twitter and Instagram at MMAHawk21. Follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram. And of course, check us out at allaccessmma.com, the home of this podcast. And Ed, look forward to talking to you next week, man. Enjoy the fights and hang in there, dude.
You too, man. Stay breezy.
Is that what Sean O'Malley would say?
I don't know.
Have a good one, dude.
Real quick, I got the thing about the. I was joking about the PS4. I ordered the UFC 4 PS4 game, and I know they're doing something Friday night where the fighters are playing like actors on Twitch or whatever. But if anybody, I'm probably going to be on my Twitch handle's Old Head Carb, and I'll probably be broadcasting my my fights with my own commentary when I'm not watching the real thing or training or whatever. So
you'll have to remind me, because if you haven't played that game, you're going to get your ass whooped. It's tough. It's not.
Yeah, no, yeah. I haven't played an MMA based video game since the Pride game on PS2. So
good old days.
Yeah. Well, all right, man.
All right. Have a good one.
See you.